Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about A New Spring by Robert Jordan, the Wheel of Time prequel book. So, with that being said, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. Spoiler warning for the Wheel of Time books 1 through 5. I may or may not talk about some spoilery plot points in those books just to kind of talk about this one because they affect each other, obviously. So, A New Spring is basically the origin story of Moraine and Land, basically how they became Aes Sedai and Water. So it kind of takes place during the time when Moraine was still as an accepted. It kind of follows through her journey onto becoming a full Aes Sedai, and it kind of like tells where Land was at that point in time and how he kind of crossed paths with Moraine and end up kind of getting stuck with her basically. Um, it's interesting the stuff that we learned about both of the characters. They have a much richer and deeper and more interesting background than I would have assumed, because a lot of the stuff we learn about them through the first 5 books is very minor stuff. We don't really learn about a whole lot of their backgrounds and stuff. There's some stuff hinted at with Moraine, and I think even Land in Eye of the World, if I remember correctly. It's hinted at both of them, things that we explicitly learned in this book. It's hinted before, and they kind of just washed over my head before I ain't paying any attention to it and stuff. So when it was confirmed here that they both were basically in situations that could have become monarchs, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's very much a kind of a interesting, almost sacrifice thing. Granted, I don't think being a royal or monarch in like this situation would be fun at all, but it's like they both kind of gave up these interesting positions that they could have had or were trying to be put into more or less out of manipulation, because people just wanted to like puppet string them, really is what was going on. But to have that like opportunity for that kind of power, but they both basically shirk that, all for the purpose of doing something for the greater good, which I think is really cool. It really explains a lot about the core of their character, which is something that was clear about Moraine all the way through, even though I was a little untrusting of her for most of it because she is so secretive and kept so much secret. But after this, I can kind of see where some of that comes from. There's stuff that happens in here that there's no real way to prove the identities of these people or like prove their intent. So like she basically ends up having to take it to her grave and like not tell anybody what happened and stuff because of the fact that there's no real proof on it. So I feel like that kind of thing started her whole, just give out a little bit of information that's verifiable and usable, just kind of, piecemeal information instead of just being completely forthright. And I feel like that's, the thing that affects her and Rand's relationship later. So I think that's kind of cool that we kind of see where that goes. In the story, we also get quite a bit of Swan, or Saiwan. Her name is spelled not like Swan, S-W-A-N, so I don't think it's Swan, but I'm gonna say Swan because the audiobooks of the other ones says Swan. I thought it was really cool to kind of get to know her, and that her and Moraine were friends and they were like really close and stuff back in the day. Like it makes me wonder if we're going to see a lot more of Swan, because she's come back in a bit of a big way in the last recent couple books that I read, and it kind of makes me think maybe she will be the Moraine kind of substitute later. Like since Moraine's dead now, maybe she'll, even though she's stilled, she'll probably using her knowledge of the White Tower and just general information of having been in that world for so long, she would be like a useful character to like our main group of characters. So maybe her and like Logain and stuff, it'll become like a thing. I'm hoping that's going forward. Maybe we'll get to see them again. They'll become part of the party, because after seeing this side of Swan and like seeing her kind of be young and kind of playful and all this stuff and like rebellious and just kind of normal person, it kind of made me like her more. I mean, granted, my opinion was already starting to flip on her when they did the whole coup thing in the White Tower and everything and deposed her. My opinion over was kind of starting to flip because I felt bad for her, because I figured anybody taking over for her was going to be worse. So, which I'm not wrong, I don't think. At least hasn't been proven totally just yet. But the idea that she was, so the way she sent the girls on like their mission to find Black Odge and all that stuff, I just kind of always felt some type of way about it. But the fact that she there's a reason for it, like there's a reason for it, I guess is the best way I can say it, which is the beauty of a prequel, because you can give an origin of a lot of this stuff and it's all related to what goes on here. So the main plot of this book is pretty interesting. It's a nice little origin story for two of our main big characters in the main series and how they get together and stuff. But there's a lot of what I would consider fluff in here. There's a lot of descriptions of like shopping and stuff, like clothes and all this kind of stuff that just feels boring. Like it's just boring. It's just like it's the equivalent of a really long pan shot in a movie where you're just kind of looking at all the shelves really slowly, just like kind of it feels like that to me. It's I don't know. It's meandering in a way. It's almost the same type of meandering that Stephen King does, but for some reason here it feels way more boring and less characterized than when King does it. So it's an interesting difference there. But like, there's just like Jordan will describe stuff. He just describes like holy crap, he does. But it's like you're describing all these other things instead of the things I would find interesting and want to be described. Like you can describe 1.5 billion dresses, but you should be telling me like the building and the areas and how it relates, and is there anybody sneaking behind there? Is there, I don't know. There's just, I had issues with it. So this is a little bit of a mixed bag for me. Like some of, like pretty much the entire series has been for me so far. There are some books I really like, and there are some books that I'm lukewarm on, and others I'm just kind of blah. This one I'm much closer to full on liking it. I'm more lukewarm, but like the stuff that happened in it, I really enjoyed it. But like all the in between stuff felt like fluff, and I kind of got bored with it. I'm not gonna lie. So, but as usual, this book has interesting reveals. Jordan seems to like to do. I mean, I wonder if this is where Brandon kind of gets influenced with like his Brandon Sanderson avalanches or whatever. Like the way at the end of a lot of Sanderson books, it'll just be a cascade of things that'll happen. Just all these events culminate, and just so much stuff happens. I imagine Sanderson was influenced by Jordan, and that's why he kind of does that regularly. So in the same way here, a lot of stuff kind of happens right at the end. There's a lot of reveals. There's a Black Aja reveal. There's Dark Frame reveal and stuff like that. And it just kind of just happens. It all just kind of, it feels like it just tumbles out, and it just kind of, I mean, it happens in a really organic way, and it's done well, but just, it almost feels out of nowhere. Cause like you get used to the slower kind of, you know, day in the life kind of thing, I guess I'll call it. And then it just like, oh yeah, there's this big deal stuff going on. We were wondering who the Black Aja person was. And oh crap, they're trying to kill these people all of a sudden. Like, it just kind of happens really fast. And later in the story, there's like a magic battle. You know, two women are channeling against each other. And it's funny because it always comes back to me later after like I think about it a little bit in hindsight. It's like when women are channeling, when they're having like a magic battle, they're really just standing there, like, because you don't need to do any gestures or anything when you're weaving different flows of power and stuff. So they're both basically just standing there looking at each other and like just doing all this invisible fight stuff. Like, it's just so funny. I really wonder how they're going to deal with that in the series. They definitely got to add in, like, you know how Doctor Strange does all his movements and stuff. They definitely got to add something, some sort of visual language for it, I imagine, or like show the weavings or something, like something, because I had to chuckle. Like, as epic as that battle was, and the fact that Moraine lost, because this is a prequel, so I didn't think anything about stakes. I'm like, oh, she'll be fine, blah blah. She doesn't die till book 5. So when she actually lost the fight, I was like, oh wait, she lost the fight. So I was a little surprised. I was actually a little surprised she like lost the fight and stuff. She got bested, you know. I mean, obviously by somebody who's been channeling much longer and who has a much greater capacity with the power than she does. So it all makes sense. And then she does the thing that I thought was so awesome, and it reminds me of one of my issues I used to have with Harry Potter. It's like, yes, you all are magic users and you have near access to near infinite power or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're still human. Like, so Moraine does what I think most people would do in a situation. The evil Dark Aja woman turned her back. Marine, yeah, they have basically the same name too. It's kind of funny, Marine, whatever. But like, she turns her back on her, and Moraine takes her belt knife out and just backstabs her, like straight up backstabs her. I'm like, yes, because she's still human, no matter what her capacity is. If it's higher than yours, if you get a hit off of her, she doesn't have any kind of, you know, air shielding or anything like that, then you can get her, just like in Harry Potter. If you sneak up on Voldemort and shank him, you could probably, well, Horcruxes are a thing, but like, you know, in any case, humans are fleshbacks, so take advantage of that and freaking get rid of them. And I kind of appreciate that that was done, because it's like, yes, you might be overpowered as a, you know, magic user, but you can still probably overpower that person physically, at least. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of what happened in the 5th book, I believe, when I think it was Nynaeve ended up using that collar thing on the Forsaken. Other weird name I can't remember pronounce at the moment. She ended up, you know, in the dream world using that like slave collar thing to take control of the other woman's ability to channel and stuff. It kind of reminds me of that, like this out of the box thinking, this, you know, don't be so reliant on your powers. Like, you know, a magic user should be more than just their abilities and stuff. I really kind of liked that. I thought that was really cool and a nice little add in. And of course, as expected, the story ends with Lan, I almost said proposing, because it kind of feels like it. And the way he gives her his oath, it feels like a very traditional, dramatic, medieval kind of proposal kind of thing he was doing. And you know, she accepts him as her warder. She basically has to tell him all this kind of information about what's going on, because this whole time she's been on a mission trying to find the Dragon Reborn, because one of the sisters who has the power of foresight, like, had this major vision, and, like, you know, confirmed that, well, who we know is Rand, confirmed that he was born, but the vision and stuff was so powerful it, like, killed her. Like, it's kind of crazy, like, that much power. I guess that's probably why there's not a lot of fortune telling type people with prophecies that are strong enough to kill you, I guess. Because I don't think we've got many other characters that have been mentioned that, like, have that ability. Just like viewings and stuff like that. I wonder if that's an extension of that. Maybe I'll learn more about it later in more world building stuff, so who knows. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video since it's going on a little bit long. I want to ask you all, what is your favorite part of A New Spring? What are the cool new little things you learn about Moraine in that story that kind of, like, adds to her character? What about this that kind of adds to Lan character as well? Let me know about that in the comments down below. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will talk to y'all next time. Peace.